3 years ago, actress Gina Carano was fired from Disney. Why? For speaking her mind. And she was one of Disney's most talented and beloved up-and-coming actresses.
You know, I had to move out of Hermosa Beach. I had to move out of LA. I had paparazzi knowing where I lived. I had stalkers.
Hollywood's no stranger to pushing boundaries, but what happens when its own stars push back? Today, we're diving into those explosive moments when some of Hollywood's biggest names took a stand against the woke agenda. Denzel Washington calls out Hollywood's obsession with race, insisting it's culture that truly shapes a story. And then there's Samuel L. Jackson, who famously challenged a reporter to confront the power of the N-word head-on, refusing to let language be watered down or dodged. These are the voices that dared to go against the grain. Let's get into it. Kicking things off, Denzel Washington has always been a champion of depth over surface-level appearances. In one powerful interview while promoting Fences, he made a statement that would stick with anyone who heard it. It's not color, it's culture. This wasn't just a comment about race. It was a call for a deeper understanding of the cultural roots that shape every story. For Denzel, it's not enough to focus solely on color. It's about the lived experiences and the richness of the culture behind the characters, the stories, and the performances. He illustrated this point by comparing Hollywood directors tackling stories outside of their own cultures. Denzel argued that a white director could successfully tell a black story if they genuinely understood the culture behind it. He even compared it to how Steven Spielberg directed Schindler's List, or how Martin Scorsese brought Goodfellas to life. The key, Denzel said, was the ability to understand and honor the lived experiences and cultural nuances of those stories, not simply focusing on race as a superficial trait. It's about respecting the essence of the culture that the story comes from, not just checking off diversity boxes or casting actors based on their skin color.
Your hair on a Sunday morning, what it smells like. That's a cultural, not just a color difference.
This perspective flips the common Hollywood narrative on its head. It challenges the prevailing belief that stories need to be told only by those who share the same race as the characters. Instead, Denzel is advocating for authenticity in storytelling, where the focus is on culture, the experiences, struggles, and traditions that shape the characters, rather than just their racial identity. He wrapped up his message with a striking and poignant statement: "You can't legislate love." In a world where Hollywood often feels pressured to adhere to mandated diversity quotas or to force unity through policies, Denzel is urging for something deeper. True unity, he suggests, can't be achieved by rules and regulations alone. It has to come from genuine understanding, respect, and dialogue, qualities that go beyond what's written in a law or policy. In a time when Hollywood is often bogged down by political correctness and superficial diversity, Denzel Washington's message cuts right through the noise, reminding us that storytelling should always be about honoring culture, not just checking boxes. When it comes to language, Samuel L. Jackson doesn't pull any punches. One of his most memorable moments came during an interview with Houston's Fox TV affiliate, where Jackson challenged film critic Jake Hamilton to say the N-word himself if they were going to have a serious discussion about it. Jackson wasn't trying to provoke Hamilton or make him uncomfortable. Rather, he wanted to highlight the immense emotional weight of the word and its deeply rooted history. "Have you ever said it? Try it. We're not going to have this conversation unless you try it," Jackson said, emphasizing that only those who have lived through the word's painful legacy can fully understand its significance.
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Why not?
I don't like to say it.
Have you ever said it?
No, sir.
Try it.
Hamilton, a white man, understandably hesitated, to which Jackson laughed and replied, "No, it's not the same thing. The point, the N-word carries a unique, deep-seated pain that can't be replicated by someone who hasn't experienced it firsthand." When it came to Django Unchained, Jackson's defense of the N-word was just as strong. During filming, Leonardo DiCaprio, who played a plantation owner, was hesitant about using the N-word repeatedly in his role. Jackson and director Quentin Tarantino made it clear that in order for the story to be authentic, DiCaprio needed to embrace the character's reality. It's about truth in storytelling, Jackson explained, noting that the language had to reflect the horrific racism of the time. This wasn't just about throwing the N-word around for shock value. It was about painting an accurate picture of history. Jackson's belief was simple: if you want to tell the truth, you can't shy away from uncomfortable realities. Jackson has also been vocal about the careless use of the N-word outside of a story's context. He criticized Joe Rogan's use of the term, saying that it wasn't about context, it was about comfort. "It's not the context, dude, it's that he was comfortable doing it," Jackson said, pointing out that using the N-word for entertainment value without any narrative purpose was inappropriate. He made it clear that there's a massive difference between using the word as part of an authentic story and using it for cheap laughs or shock value. In defending Quentin Tarantino's use of the N-word in his films, Jackson emphasized that Tarantino always uses it with purpose. It needs to be an element of what the story is about, Jackson argued, calling out the hypocrisy that often surrounds Tarantino's style. He noted that while other filmmakers like Steve McQueen are lauded for their use of similar language, Tarantino's films often face undue criticism, all because of the way he embraces the harsh realities of history. For Jackson, the issue is clear. The N-word should never be used recklessly. It's about context, respect, and, above all, authenticity in storytelling. Jackson's take on the subject reminds us that language, especially a word as powerful as the N-word, demands to be handled with care and respect, something that Hollywood all too often overlooks. Matthew McConaughey has never been one to shy away from speaking his mind, especially when it comes to the pressures of political correctness in Hollywood. He's made it clear that he won't be boxed into a political label. In a recent interview with Joy Behar on The View, he made that stance crystal clear. When Behar suggested that McConaughey might be anti-gun, he didn't hesitate to push back. With his trademark calm but firm demeanor, he said, "One thing about me in politics is, to give you a direct statement right there, is me playing a game I'm not interested in playing." That wasn't just a rebuttal, it was McConaughey's way of making it known he's not interested in the oversimplified labels that often dominate political discourse.
I've been considering a run for the governor of Texas. Been studying Texas politics and American politics.
For him, it's not about choosing sides or adhering to any ideological box. It's about moving beyond the labels and fostering honest, open conversations where real progress can happen. This is a consistent theme in McConaughey's career and personal life. He's been vocal about Hollywood's tendency to create echo chambers, where opposing views aren't just disagreed with, they're often dismissed or belittled. He believes this kind of environment stifles creativity and real dialogue. McConaughey argues that for Hollywood and society in general, the solution isn't to conform to trends or make everything politically correct, but to embrace civility and engage with different perspectives. He doesn't believe in boxing people in, neither in the entertainment industry nor in political debates. And McConaughey's call for more dialogue extends beyond the Hollywood bubble. Following the tragic school shooting in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas, McConaughey became a passionate advocate for gun responsibility. He explained that the term gun control often sparks immediate opposition, as it's perceived as a hardline stance. On the other hand, gun responsibility allows for a more productive conversation by encouraging dialogue from both sides of the debate without immediately alienating those with differing views. His goal? A real conversation, not just a polarized argument based on labels and party lines. At the heart of McConaughey's philosophy is a belief in the power of civil discourse. His frustration with the elitism in Hollywood and the broader political divide is clear. In a world increasingly defined by tribalism,
To the reason. We're good storytellers. That's what a good storyteller does, puts rhyme to the reason. I like the poetry down here. I like the
McConaughey urges us to focus on what unites us, not what divides us. It's a call for more empathy, understanding, and ultimately for individuals to listen to one another rather than merely shouting their opinions from opposite sides. And in today's climate, that message feels as relevant as ever. In 2021, Gina Carano's firing from The Mandalorian sent shockwaves through Hollywood. After being let go, she made it clear she wasn't backing down from her beliefs. In an interview with Ben Shapiro on The Daily Wire, Carano boldly declared, "I'm not going to be bullied into silence." This wasn't just about losing a role, it was about standing up against the growing culture of cancellation that, according to her, stifles free speech. Carano's departure from The Mandalorian came after a series of controversial social media posts, including one comparing the political climate in America to the persecution of Jews during the Holocaust. Critics labeled her remarks as insensitive, but Carano didn't apologize. Instead, she used the moment to call out Hollywood's trend of silencing people who dared to speak their minds. In a revealing Variety interview, Carano explained how being silenced, unhireable, and shamed for her opinions made her realize just how toxic the environment had become in the industry. She emphasized that in Hollywood, the fear of offending the wrong people.
I like your demeanor. I like how you speak to people. I like the questions you ask, and it seems like a very comfortable, nice.
Often forces people to compromise their values or stay quiet altogether. For Carano, this wasn't an option. She refused to let the fear of cancel culture dictate her beliefs. Carano explained she never compromised herself for a job. This statement wasn't just a reflection of her own experience, but also a criticism of an industry that often demands conformity, pushing people into silence or public apologies. She made it clear that for her, staying true to her values was far more important than holding on to a high-profile job. Carano's fight wasn't just about her own career. It was about speaking out against a culture that punishes individuals for stepping outside the lines of popular opinion. She argued that the power of cancel culture lies in its ability to silence people, making them fear the consequences of thinking or speaking differently. This, she believes, ultimately harms creativity and free expression, two things that should thrive in the entertainment industry. Her defiance resonated with many who felt similarly silenced in Hollywood. By refusing to back down, Carano became an unlikely champion for free speech and the diversity of thought that is necessary for a healthy society. Her firing highlighted a larger issue in the industry, the growing pressure to conform to a narrow narrative. Gina Carano's stand against cancel culture wasn't just a personal statement. It was a call for Hollywood to open its doors to a wider range of voices. In a world where one wrong move can end a career, Carano's refusal to apologize is a powerful reminder that speaking your truth is more important than fitting into the mainstream mold. Dave Chappelle has always been a master of provoking thought through humor, but his stance on cancel culture took center stage with his 2021 special, The Closer. When faced with criticism, Chappelle's response was simple and firm. "You can't cancel me." It wasn't just about the jokes. He was defending his right to speak freely, even when that speech isn't comfortable or safe. For Chappelle, comedy should never be about playing it safe. It's about challenging ideas, sparking difficult conversations, and pushing boundaries. In The Closer, Chappelle took on issues of race, gender, and sexuality, refusing to bow to the increasing pressure to conform to Hollywood's shifting standards of what's acceptable. His remarks about the transgender community ignited heated debates, but Chappelle stood by his material. He emphasized that his comedy wasn't intended to offend, but to provoke thought.
People don't know all the things that comedians go through and how difficult, how heavy it is to wear the crown.
His refusal to apologize for his controversial jokes showcased his belief that comedians should not be held to higher standards than anyone else, especially when their goal is to entertain, challenge, and make people think. Chappelle's defiant stance against cancel culture has been a consistent theme throughout his career. He's made it clear that comedy is a vehicle for truth and expression, and those who try to silence comedians are, in his view, stifling an essential form of free speech. His words are not meant to please everyone, and he believes that's exactly what makes comedy effective. It's about pushing boundaries, not fitting into a mold. While some in Hollywood or the media push for more sanitized, politically correct humor, Chappelle is an advocate for comedy that comes from an honest place, no matter how uncomfortable it might make people feel. In his view, humor should never be policed. He also called out the hypocrisy in the entertainment industry, pointing out that comedians often face disproportionate backlash compared to other public figures who say equally controversial things in different contexts. Chappelle's defense of free speech isn't just a refusal to apologize, it's a call to preserve the integrity of comedy. For him, it's a powerful tool for social commentary, and it's something that shouldn't be watered down or controlled by external forces. His unflinching commitment to speaking his truth reminds us that comedy at its best is about starting conversations, even the tough ones. In an age where cancel culture and political correctness often dominate the public conversation, Chappelle's unapologetic approach is a stark reminder of the importance of maintaining freedom of expression, especially in comedy. Morgan Freeman is never one to shy away from speaking his mind, and his views on Black History Month are no exception. In a famous 60 Minutes interview, Freeman made his position clear. "I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history. This isn't just a comment, it's a challenge to the way America has categorized and compartmentalized historical narratives." Freeman wasn't dismissing the significance of Black history, rather he was questioning why it's confined to just one month of the year. Freeman's argument is simple yet profound. He believes that by restricting the celebration of Black history to just February, it undermines the idea that the contributions of Black Americans are an integral part of the nation's history. As he pointed out, Black history is American history, meaning that Black Americans have shaped the culture, politics, and society of the United States year-round, not just during a single month. What made Freeman's interview even more impactful was the way he flipped the conversation. When asked by interviewer Mike Wallace about Black History Month, Freeman responded with a question of his own.
"You're gonna relegate my history to a month?"
Well, how about White History Month? Do you have one of those? It was a sharp challenge to the underlying assumption that certain histories are more important or deserving of focus than others. Freeman wasn't just suggesting that Black history be celebrated year-round. He was pointing out that every month is, in essence, White History Month by default in the broader context of American history. Freeman's argument is that Black history, like all history, should be integrated into the broader narrative of American history. He's not against celebrating specific achievements, he's against compartmentalizing them. History, Freeman suggests, should be seen as interconnected. The struggles, triumphs, and innovations of Black Americans are a vital part of the larger American story and deserve to be taught and appreciated as such, without the constraints of a single month. For Freeman, the issue isn't about rejecting the celebration of Black history, it's about elevating it to the level of inclusion and respect it deserves in the ongoing conversation about America's past and present. He challenges us to think critically about how we define history and whether narrowing it down to months like February actually serves to diminish its significance. In his view, Black history is not a special topic to be revisited once a year, but a continuous part of the American legacy, deserving of recognition and acknowledgement all year long. By encouraging a broader view of American history, Freeman's perspective forces us to rethink how we honor all voices and contributions to the nation's story.
My theory in directing actors is to not insert the ego.
Clint Eastwood has always been a voice that stands apart from Hollywood's trend-chasing culture. With a career that spans over half a century, Eastwood's philosophy on filmmaking and his criticisms of industry trends have made him a figure of both admiration and contention in Hollywood. For him, true artistry isn't about riding on the latest political bandwagon or catering to fleeting social trends. It's about creating authentic, impactful stories that resonate with audiences. In interviews, Eastwood has repeatedly emphasized that filmmakers should prioritize the craft of storytelling over succumbing to the pressures of politically correct narratives. He's been particularly vocal about Hollywood's rush to embrace trendy causes or issue-driven content, often accusing the industry of sacrificing substance for the sake of spectacle. As he doesn't believe in the whole idea of trends, what is really important is the story itself. He's been a critic of films that he believes are overly driven by political agendas, stating that it dilutes the power of art to communicate complex human experiences. Eastwood's approach stands in stark contrast to the modern wave of filmmaking where political correctness and social justice narratives often shape projects from the ground up. As a director, he's refused to follow the trends that dominate the industry, even if that means taking risks. He's made films that tackle tough, controversial subjects, like American Sniper and Gran Torino, that don't shy away from complex cultural themes. These films often focus on the human condition, identity, and personal conflict, rather than adhering to the sometimes superficial messages pushed by modern Hollywood. For Eastwood, filmmaking is about the story, not the spectacle, and that's where his critique of Hollywood trends comes in. He's spoken out about the industry's shift toward making films that serve a social purpose, rather than simply telling powerful stories. In a 2019 interview with The Guardian, he said, "I don't want to be a part of the whole, this is politically correct stuff. I just want to make films that speak to people." Eastwood's position challenges the growing consensus in Hollywood that filmmaking must align with contemporary social and political movements. He he remains one of the few directors who isn't afraid to question the motives behind certain trends in film, preferring instead to focus on telling stories that remain true to life, regardless of the latest political climate. In a world where Hollywood is increasingly about taking stances, Clint Eastwood has made it clear that, for him, the most important thing is staying true to the art of filmmaking. He continues to show that true artistic expression isn't about appeasing the loudest voices, it's about speaking to the hearts of viewers through compelling and honest storytelling. These actors aren't just playing roles, they're standing up against Hollywood's woke culture. From challenging reporters to defending free speech, they show us the real power of unfiltered dialogue and storytelling that doesn't bend to trends. What's your take on their stand? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around for more bold discussions. See you next time.